Hi everyone, so I'm so excited. I'm going to be sharing my daughter Haven's birth story today about my home birth and just what a miracle and a testimony to God's goodness it was. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I can't talk too loud because she is sleeping right now, which is a whole miracle because she does not normally sleep very good during the day. So I'm super excited to share this with you. It's going to be a little bit longer because I'm going to start at the very beginning, before pregnancy, and not just only share the birth story. So you might have to skip to that if you're not into the whole thing. But we'll just get into it because it is a good one, and I just feel so blessed that I got to experience it and just really have this story to share with everyone. So we are going to start with, before I was pregnant, I started to just hear the name Haven in my spirit, which is my daughter's name now. But one day I was at a naturopath functional medicine appointment, and I look across the hallway and I see this little studio, and it's called Haven Birth and Wellness. And I was like, I wonder what that is. I could tell already it was like a midwife's office, which is totally my vibe for birth. I would rather have a midwife than an OB. I didn't necessarily know at this point I was going to have a home birth, but I knew that either way I wanted a midwife to be a part. And so I kind of had this name in the back of my mind, and it kind of clicked when I saw this studio. So anyways, I am just going about life. This is probably 6 months before we even find out that we're pregnant. And fast forward a little bit more time, I start really getting this urge in my spirit that I really want to have a home birth, and that I just want to experience natural birth. Natural birth has been something that I've always wanted to experience. I tried really hard with my first daughter, but I ended up getting an epidural at about 6 centimeters. It was just too difficult, and I felt like, for me, my environment plays a huge role. I was in the hospital for her birth, and it was available, and I was like, I'm in so much pain right now, I'm gonna do it. Well, and honestly with her, at that point it wasn't even really pain, it was more fear, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, so I knew that this time I wanted to experience something different, and I just kept feeling this urge in my spirit to have a home birth, and I knew it was the Holy Spirit, because normally this would be something I feel like naturally I would be more fearful of because of just the out of the norm. Even though this has been something that women have done forever, it is just having it in your home and having midwives thinking in the back of your mind like things could go wrong or whatever. I just knew that I wanted my next birth experience to be different, and not only just for something that I desired. I felt like, are you laughing at me? Sorry, that was my husband. I felt like generationally this was going to be an experience that set apart our family, that set apart our daughters to not walk in a spirit of fear around birth, and that they would be able to say that my mom had me at home, my mom experienced home birth, and this is something that we also want to experience. And so that was really important for me. I felt like generationally, besides obviously if you go back a super long time ago, I would be the first in our family to have a natural birth, unmedicated and at home. So this felt really exciting for me. It felt like it was along the lines of like breaking generational curses, which is something that I feel like our family, we really emphasize and try to practice within our home as best as we can and know how. Anyways, yeah, so I knew that I wanted this birth to be different. I knew I wanted to be set apart. But naturally, I had a lot of just what ifs playing around in my mind. And I felt like God sent me so many people along the way to reassure me. I met a really great friend here in Tennessee, and she was like, yeah, I've had all my babies at home. And I just immediately was like, tell me more. I want to know all about it because that's something I want to do. And so, yeah, I just feel like God, he would put these little God winks of people around me to almost reassure me that this was normal, that this was a good thing, it's a God thing. And so I felt like along the way that like built my spirit for the confidence that I would need to be able to do it. So anyways, fast forwarding a little bit further up, we find out that we are pregnant the day before Valentine's Day, which was so special, and we're so excited. We are like, this is gonna be our baby boy, which it wasn't, spoiler alert, but that's okay. My husband and I, we just felt like this was his time, because we've always been prophesied and promised that we were also gonna have a son. But God had other plans, and we're so happy he did, because we love our little baby girl, and her name and just everything fits just so well into our family and into this testimony. And honestly, just my mind kind of goes all over the place, and that's how I tell stories, so forgive me if I'm a little all over the place. But honestly, if God would have given us our baby boy now, we would 100% be done. We would be like, all right, we've got our girl and our boy, we're good. And so, yeah, so he didn't. He gave us a baby girl, and that's my daughter waking up. Let me go grab her and bring her to the video. Okay, mama duty calls. So she will be with me now. But yeah, I just felt like if God would have given us our son now, we would have been done, and he would have had more for us. And so he just 100% has an order and a plan for everything, and we're so grateful for that, even if it's not what we think it should look like or whatever. We're just happy that we have a healthy baby girl. But anyways, let's see. So I was saying, we found out we're pregnant, baby girl, super happy to have the sister duo. Yeah, and just automatically starting to prep my mind for, I want to have a home birth. And another obstacle that felt a little bit unattainable, I guess, at the time was in a hospital, my birth would have been covered with insurance, and we wouldn't have had to really pay anything out of pocket, and I could still have a midwife, and I could even still have a natural birth if I wanted. But again, I felt specifically called to have a home birth, and here in our state, you can go with different groups of midwives or a company or something like that, but because it is outside of the hospital, everything is out of pocket. So for us, that just felt at the time like a big stretch, because we would not only be paying our regular bills, our rent, our living expenses, but we would also be paying for a $7,000 birth that we had to pay before she was born. So it was just a lot in general, but again, we felt so called to do it, and so we just trusted God that he was going to provide, and he did, like he always does. But yeah, so find out I'm pregnant, and automatically I am thinking of this group, Haven, and I'm like, I'm just gonna see if they have any availability. They are somebody who only has 4 spots available each month because they're a smaller team. And so when I called, they were like, perfect timing, we have 1 spot left. So I was like, it's mine, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna just trust that God's gonna provide. And I was able to get in with them, and honestly, since the beginning, it was just such a different experience, just going to my appointments and having them walk alongside with me. First off, they are all believers, which again makes just such a huge difference. just the level of care, the way that they're able to speak into you, and also just be in agreement for the values and beliefs that you have, because birth is such an intimate experience already. I mean, you're literally bearing yourself in front of somebody. You're so vulnerable in your pain, your whatever it is, and so it's just such an intimate experience. So who you choose to be there is, I believe, key and so crucial to your birth experience. So so I'm really glad that we were able to choose Haven. We also decided that it would be a good thing to hire a doula, since this would be my first unmedicated birth in general, and I didn't even know, what that would look like pain management wise, or just what I would need. I keep using the word pain, but I was actually believing God for a pain-free birth experience. I just would watch videos and I would hear the people's testimonies, and I was like, why can't I believe for that? Other women have experienced it. We are redeemed from the curse through Jesus Christ, and so why is pain in childbirth not included in that? And so I full on started to believe that I could experience a pain-free birth, and I would just declare certain things over myself, speak scripture, read books, whatever it would be. And walking into my birth story now, I ended up at, not all the way actually, at 30 or 28 weeks, you take the gestational diabetes test, and it came to a huge shock at this time to me, that whoops, give me a second. Here's my little Haven girl. My little Haven glory. And I need a little bird cloth for her because she is a spitty little thing. She has a little bit of acid reflux. Love that for us. But yeah, so what was I talking about? Oh, gestational diabetes. So I ended up getting gestational diabetes this pregnancy. Came to a huge shock to me. I did not have that the first go around, so that was not even on my radar. It was not even on my mind. I was just thinking, I'm gonna have a healthy pregnancy. Bless you. Bless you. Just like girl. Just like I did the first time. And so, I failed the 1 hour, failed the 3 hour, and I, again, still was like, okay, that sucks, but, we'll just keep moving forward. Little did I know, this is a huge way to risk yourself out for home birth, because they just view it as the, what is it called? They just view it as more of a medically necessary condition that could open you up for time in the NICU, a bigger baby, blood sugar issues when the baby is born, etc. So I was just in for a huge shock when my midwives came to me and they were like, okay, you have this, we really need to manage your sugars and make sure everything is good. If it's not good though, you're actually probably not going to be able to stay with us. So instantly my heart was like crushed. I felt like this is what God had given me for a plan. This is all of the steps and alignment led up to this point with them. And I just felt really unprepared to be able to shift to a plan B. In a way my mind never even let me. They were even not pushing me, but at one point they were like, let's think about other options of where you would like to deliver. At that time I was about 32 weeks pregnant, and so I really had to, in their eyes, think about other options because my numbers were not where they needed to be. And through this whole time, all of my numbers would be in perfect alignment other than my fasting glucose. So right when I wake up, it would always be a little bit elevated. They want it to be under 95. It would be like 100, 110 on a bad day, 103, 98, just always above. And then a very, like, I would say like a handful of times it would be in alignment. Anyways, I just really need to get a burp cloth for her now. 1 minute. I already know this video is a little chaotic, but I'm getting it done, right? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're still so sleepy. You should have slept a little bit longer. So yeah. So my numbers just would not be where they needed to be, and I felt like this put a huge wrench in my experience. I started to let in just a lot of fear, and honestly I feel like I started to grieve what I wanted for my birth experience in a home birth, and I was like, this isn't gonna happen. Well, okay, I say that this isn't gonna happen. I had this battle internally of like, this isn't gonna happen, and maybe I should start to explore other options. And then I also had this other internal battle of like, no, it is gonna happen. God said it is. I need to really lean into my faith and just declare that. I can't see it naturally, but it's happening in the spirit. Like walking by faith, but not by sight, because the numbers would not make sense. I'd wake up and they would be elevated, and I'm like, they're giving me, they would be so gracious too. They'd be like, okay, let's do 2 more weeks of your numbers, and then if it's not in alignment, then we'll talk. They're like cut off for you to get your money back, or just whatever would be 36 weeks. So obviously it was important for me to have this figured out by then, because I didn't want to pay for a home birth that I wasn't going to have and a hospital birth. So yeah, I felt like there was a shift maybe at like 34-ish weeks, and I was like, no, like I'm gonna have my home birth. I felt like this is what God wants to happen. I felt like right now I'm just like dealing with the spiritual battle of my numbers just not being in alignment. So every morning before I would test my blood sugar, I would just declare over myself, like, I plead the blood of Jesus over my body. My blood sugar is in perfect alignment, perfect range in Jesus' name. And I just believed that it was going to be, and it would. I would take my blood sugar, and even sometimes that first initial prick, it wouldn't be. And then I would say, you know what? No, I'm not going to believe that. And I would prick my finger again, or I would even just use the same drop of blood and retest it, and it would be perfect. And so, yeah, I felt like even when my blood sugar was out of line, I had this supernatural peace that Haven was fine, that she was protected, that she was safe, that her blood sugar was not elevated, that I didn't have a big baby that wasn't gonna fit through my pelvis. Like, I just believe for all those things. Even just to get peace of mind at 35 weeks, I had an ultrasound, and she was measuring like 5 pounds something, and my first was a little baby also. And so I just was like, no, she's fine, she's healthy. And I really believe that, and I believe that God just supernaturally protected her, and he did. So yeah, basically just going through that, I felt so, every day was such a roller coaster of emotions, until I decided, you know what, this is just an opportunity for me to lean into that surrender that I'm gonna need for this home birth, because that's what birth is about. It's about surrender. It's about leaving your hands open for God to be able to move and work through you, just like a contraction does. And so yeah, I really left it in God's hands, and I was like, if I am meant to have this home birth, my numbers are going to be in alignment, and if I'm not, I'm not. They're not going to be in alignment, and I will have a hospital birth. Anyways, spoiler alert, I got to have my home birth, which just felt already in itself, making it to that point felt so supernatural and just like a miracle in itself. I ended up going all the way until 41 weeks this time. I had my first at 40 and 4 days. Haven, I had her at exactly 41 weeks. Exactly 41 weeks. I woke up, well, first of all, the night before that, I started having these contractions in my sleep that would actually wake me up, but I could tell they were more like Braxton Hicks like, or just not strong enough to fully like send me over. And yeah, so I kind of thought that was weird, but wrote it off because I am somebody who has prodromal labor each time. So for me, I almost just don't believe it until it's like it's happening. They're not stopping, and we're just moving along. So yeah, anyways, the next day I woke up and I just felt so excited. I was like, today might be the day. I didn't know, but I was going into my midwife's that day for an appointment, and at my midwife's office, they were just checking me, seeing how I was doing. I actually had an ultrasound scheduled for that day, and I just felt my spirit cancel the ultrasound. I really didn't want another ultrasound just because of personal, I'm a little sleep deprived, so my brain just doesn't even process right now certain words for what things should be called. Personal preference that I just should not have multiple ultrasounds for unnecessary reasons. But my midwives, they were like, if she's still in there past 41 weeks, we just want to make sure she's doing okay, your fluid levels. And so I agreed, but that appointment I canceled, and I was like, I'm not getting another one. I feel like she's going to come today or over the weekend. And I assured my midwife if she was not here by the weekend, first thing Monday, I would go look at her. I would go make sure she's okay. And so, yeah, that day I go into my midwife's. I'm having contractions about 30 minutes apart, and still at this point, I'm like, it's probably not going to be today. Just kind of like preparing. Okay, this is gonna be the longest video ever, but just bear with me. So yeah, I go into my midwife's appointment that day. Contractions are 30 minutes apart. I'm still like, probably not gonna be today. But I did get a little bit excited, and I'm like, maybe it is. So we're on our way home, and still having these contractions 30 minutes apart. I'm thinking in my mind, let me go home, make sure my house is perfect, which it already was, because when you're that close and you're having a home birth, you're just cleaning your house top to bottom every day. So tidied up my house a little bit, and then I was like, let me take a nap, because if today is the real thing, I'm gonna need all the energy I learned from being a first-time mom. Don't get excited and like get ready to run your race at the first contraction, because you burn yourself out pretty quickly. And so I'm glad that I learned that. And so I ended up taking a nap for about an hour, and then the contractions woke me up, and I was like, okay, it's happening. So this was at 6 o'clock, and this was my first contraction that I was like, okay, this is more than a Braxton Hicks. We're moving into some sort of more intensity. So it was honestly the perfect timing, because it was 6 o'clock at night. My daughter's bedtime is 9 o'clock. And so I knew I was probably gonna have her that night. My daughter would be sleeping. My daughter sleeps like a little rock, so she did not wake up. So I called my dad to just take my daughter Selah on a little date, and just so my husband and I could labor at home and just have it be the two of us, which was perfect. And looking back at the birth footage, it was pretty chill all the way until the midwives got here. I definitely was contracting, having to breathe through them, but it was not intense to where I was like, I can't handle this. Even at 10:30, I'm watching a video footage back of me just talking to the camera, and saying what everything is like. And so I will try to insert that now so you can see it. And yeah, so basically all the way up to this point, I am glued to my medicine ball. That was like my labor thing this time around. I would just bounce really lightly or just kind of move my hips and kind of stay in motion on it. But sitting down, it felt like that was, sorry, I'm like watching my daughter spit up and play with her little toy. Okay, I said I was gonna film this day no matter what it looked like, no matter if my kids were going crazy, if my house was a mess, which it is. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done today. I've had a girlfriend on here who is on my Instagram, who has been on me, and she's like, you need to film a YouTube video. So that's what I'm doing, y'all. But anyways, so 10:30 rolls around. Okay, back it up. Sorry. Okay, so I'm glued to this medicine ball. This is my little labor space. I'm just bouncing, rocking, swaying, doing all the things. For me, this felt like a rest to make it through the intense contractions. I definitely was breathing through them and like even vocal before this 10:30, 10:45 mark. The 10:30, 10:45 mark, I'm repeating this because that is when I called my midwives and they were on their way. So I'm trying at this point just different techniques to get comfortable, and this is the only thing that's really comfortable to me is on the medicine ball. I try to go into my bathtub in labor. That was excruciating. Did not like that at all. I don't know if it's like that kneeling hands and knees stance. For me, that is just so uncomfortable and it puts so much pressure that I'm like, no, immediately no. And so I got back on my ball. I am just in my little labor land. My husband is giving me hip squeezes. I'm drinking lots of water. I'm just kind of going inward and just getting prepared for what's to come. Also just like taking each little contraction wave by wave and letting them pass over me. So things start to shift right when we called my midwives. I felt like I no longer was able to like talk through them as well. I was getting a little bit more vocal. I needed a little bit more help through these contractions. It was just more intense. At this point, I didn't feel any pain either. And so honestly, things for my pain-free birth were on track. And so yeah, my midwives, they finally make it. And again, I am doing pretty well. I'm just kind of going through the motions, letting each contraction kind of pass over me, breathing, doing all the things. My contractions were about every 5 minutes still at this point, but they were longer, like a minute or longer, and they were really intense. And so something that I did a lot this birth that I really am gonna learn from next time is, because I had nothing to compare it to as far as unmedicated, I started to second guess myself a lot, because I would watch videos and they'd be like, oh yeah, baby's coming when the contractions are like super close together. And while that is true, I was still progressing just fine and even like dilating to a higher level. Lord. And so yeah, I was just second guessing myself, and I was like, am I progressing? Are things going smoothly? And my midwives and my doula just kept assuring me. Okay, part 36, take. If I was progressing, how far along I was, all of these things. At this point, I had not been checked, so I have no idea what I am, besides the membrane sweep I got at 40 weeks, and I was 3 centimeters. So at this point, I had no idea how far along I was. I was just going through it. I knew either way she was going to be here, so I didn't put too much emphasis on that. But I felt a noticeable shift probably around 11, maybe even probably around 11:30. I started throwing up, I started shaking. My body was just like being overtaken. Like it was more so whether or not I wanted to get on this journey or fight it. And that's really how it felt. It was like there was no stopping it. If I tensed up, it would be more painful. If I just would lean into these contractions, my body would just continue to work through them. I learned that really, really quickly. Didn't always practice that, but I definitely learned it quickly. So I'm throwing up, I'm shaking, and I've heard of women doing this in labor, even though I hadn't experienced it, but actually it felt really good and relieving to throw up. It almost felt like I just needed to get it out. And that my body was going to do it whether I wanted to or not. So yeah, I started to just know some type of change was happening. You often hear about this type of shift when women are entering transition. So I started to get excited and I was like, okay, things are happening. Could I be in transition right now? So I kind of let, 30-40 minutes pass, and I could feel it intensifying. But again, my contractions were still like 3-4 minutes apart. So I was just thinking in my mind, like, okay, they're not getting this like toppling close contraction feeling, and so maybe I'm really not as far along as I think I am. So at this point I decided to get checked, and I'm glad I did, because I was 8 centimeters, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely progressing. I'm about as far along as I think I am. And so that felt really good, just to know that I'm doing this. I'm 8 centimeters. I'm making it through this. It's definitely painful. Spoiler alert, did not have a pain-free birth, but that is okay. God was still definitely in it. I really relied on God throughout this whole birth. Like there was points to where I was literally reaching up to heaven, and I was like, Lord, rescue me, take me out of this. I do not want to do this. There was points to where I was like, Hannah, next time you're just gonna go to the hospital. You're gonna get the epidural. There's no trophy for this type of birth. Kudos to you for doing it this time, but next time we are not. Yeah, so at this point too, when I'm 8 centimeters, I decide to get in the pool and just labor in there for a little bit. I ended up hating it. I don't know if it was just at that point things were shifting. I was super hot. The pool was hot to me. I just felt so overstimulated by it. Like kneeling on my knees was not comfortable. I was like, I have to get out of here. But at this point too, I was so tired. I was like, I need rest. So I end up getting on my bed, and I get into that side lying position to where you're just on your side and you have just one leg kind of like crossed over like that. And that position was excruciating, like excruciating. The contractions were so intense. I should also mention, just like my first, I had back labor this whole labor, which if you don't know, it just makes everything more intense. It's painful. The contractions are just wrapping around your back. They're squeezing that lower back, and to be honest, it literally just felt like my back was breaking open, like breaking open. I felt like I was just getting ran over by a bus, I'm not gonna lie. Not to make it sound unattainable or too crazy, it was just, I don't think I could have prepared for how much pain I was in, to be honest with you. But the good thing about it is, looking back, I was only in pain the last 3 hours of my 9-hour total labor. So yeah, I am at 8 centimeters, and I decide, let me get on my sideline position. Excruciating. I did that for about 30 minutes because even though it was really hard, just like laying down in between contractions and having that quote unquote rest was what my body needed to continue to progress. My feet hurt from just standing and swaying, from being on the ball. My back hurt worse. And so yeah, I just continued to labor in my bed until I got to a point to where it was so excruciating. I was like, let's get her out. I don't know what position we need to do to get her out, but like, let's do that. So I decided to go labor on the toilet. Again, excruciating. My husband was so helpful though, and my doula. My doula was incredible. Like, I don't think I could have done it without her. She was in that sideline position. She was giving me like the best massage, so encouraging, praying, reading scripture over me. All my midwives, all my doulas did that. It was just, they were so spirit-led and encouraging and just like anointed for birth. And that really makes a huge difference. It really does. It really does. And so, yeah, I'm on this dilation station, so they call it. And they call it that for a reason, because it definitely dilates you. I started to feel a ton of pressure. That was the point to where I got up off of that, and I knew like she was coming. And so at that point I was like, let's get in the pool. I'm ready for my water birth. That did not happen. The pool was cold at that time, so I ended up having to labor on my bed. So as soon as I get up, I am feeling just the urge to push. There is no stopping it. My body is like instinctually grunting, like you do when you have to take the biggest poop of your life. You are just bearing down. My body is working with it. I'm grunting. I am like just feeling it. And so that was something that was so cool, to just feel your body just doing it, whether you did anything about it or not. Like, your body just knows how to birth. It's taking you through each and every contraction, whether you want to submit and surrender to them or you don't. It's gonna happen. So that was something that was just so cool. And I definitely experienced fetal ejection. What is that called? Reflex? I don't know. But anyways, I experienced that. I experienced my body just supernaturally pushing for me, whether I did anything about it or not, which was so cool. I already said that. And so bummed I can't get in the pool, but I'm also just ready to get her out. At that point, you don't care where you are, you don't care what you're doing. You were like, get this baby out of me, let's go. And so, yep, I climbed up on my bed. They had everything prepared for me, the doubled sheets, like Chuck's pads, all of that on my bed, ready to go. And I start with that sideline position because, again, I was so tired. I was like, my body just needs rest. Quickly hated that position, just like I did when I was laboring. I felt like I had no momentum to just like push against and to bear down. It just felt like I was working against myself. So my midwives encouraged me to get on my hands and knees, and I was terrified of this position. I was like, oh no, it's gonna really, really hurt. That was another thing. Movement is so crucial during labor, just to progress you. But I was in so much pain. I was like, I don't want to move. Like, every time I moved, I knew that the contraction was going to come, and it was going to come super intensely. And it did. And so my midwives, they just encouraged me, though. They were like, yes, you can do this. On the count of 3, let's get on our hands and knees. We're going to get this baby out. So I did. And literally within like 3 pushes, she was out. I pushed for 15 minutes with Haven, which I pushed for 4 hours with Selah. That alone was such a miracle. It was so crazy, so special, so redemptive. I just absolutely loved that experience of pushing. Pushing was my favorite part of the whole labor. It felt like the pain was intentional. It just felt like I'm about to experience the miracle I've been praying for. It felt relieving. And so, yes, pushing, favorite part, hands down, the most redemptive, beautiful. It was painful, but the pain was not like the contractions for me, to be honest with you. Like, I definitely felt the ring of fire. I definitely felt like a burning, stretching sensation when she was crowning. I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to hurt. I was prepared because of the contraction pain, but again, it felt good. It felt like when you just, not to be weird or anything, but the best way I can think to explain it is when you have like the biggest poop of your life and it's hurting your stomach and you're like, I need to get this out. And so you're gonna push it out. You're like, get out of me, please. Even when she was right about to come out and I could feel her head and I just could feel that sensation, because when their head comes, it kind of, you kind of like hold on to that feeling for a second and they like stay there. You feel that stretch, you feel that burn, you feel that like intensity, and then their body comes. And so when I felt that, I was like, get her out. I remember like not screaming, but like firmly yelling at my midwives, and I was like, please get her out. And she came the very next push, and all of her glory, 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 21 inches long. And she came out, I feel like this is just so her, with literally a roar. Oh, sugars. Before her body was even delivered, just her head, she screamed. They were like, we've never seen a baby scream right when their head pops out, but she was like, and that's very much her personality. She is my high maintenance cutie with her acid reflux that mommy so desperately wants to figure out. So if you're a mom who has had a baby with acid reflux, please help me. We've cut out dairy, we've tried medication, we have tried all the natural thingies, but it just hasn't helped very much. And she goes through waves to where it's better and to where it's worse. So yeah, but that is my baby girl's birth story. That is my baby, and it's just such a miracle that she's here. We literally, after she was born, we spent 3 hours in bed and she just slept and everything was so glorious and still. My daughter Selah was still sleeping. We were like, we just did that. I just did that. I had my baby in my bed at my house. I'll never get over it. I still look at my bed today and I'm like forever changed by just getting to have my baby at home in my bed. It feels so special. Yeah. We are just forever changed by home birth. It was such a great experience. If you would have asked me after if I would do it again, I would tell you absolutely not. But now, absolutely yes. It was so awesome just to be in your own house, in your own bed. The midwives, they just love on you. They are like, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Let's help you go to the bathroom. Let's help you do everything just like at the hospital, but in the comfort of your own home. I love you. Mommy just want to finish this video. That is my baby girl. That is my baby. That is my Haven Glory Rose. That is her birth story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you thought it was interesting. Hope you guys loved the testimony of just how God, when he speaks, it happens. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter if you don't see it, that it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and you just need to partner with him and just believe, and that's all he needs from us. He doesn't need the logic or how it's going to play out or what it's going to look like. He's got all that planned. He just needs our belief. And so hopefully you guys like this video and it felt helpful and encouraging to you if you are having your baby at home and you have some obstacles ahead of you that you're not sure about. All right. See y'all later.